The fight for Puerto Rican self-determination, racial justice, and gender equality has seen many warriors rise, but few have been as fearless as Iris Morales. As one of the most prominent female leaders of the Young Lords Party, she broke through the barriers of race, class, and gender to demand a radical transformation of society. She was not just fighting for Puerto Rican liberation, she was fighting for women, for the poor, and for every oppressed community forced into silence by the system. At a time when women were expected to take a back seat in revolutionary movements, Morales forced her way to the front. She was more than just a foot soldier in the Young Lords. She was a strategist, an organizer, and a voice for those who had been ignored for too long. Born and raised in El Barrio, East Harlem, New York City, Morales grew up witnessing firsthand the injustice, poverty, and racism that shaped life for Puerto Ricans in the United States. Like many in her generation, she was inspired by the rise of Black Power, anti-war protests, and civil rights movements that demanded a fundamental shift in society. By the late 1960s, the Young Lords had transformed from a street gang into a revolutionary organization dedicated to fighting for Puerto Rican independence and social justice. Their message was clear: Puerto Ricans were a colonized people, and it was time to fight back. But Iris Morales quickly realized that the revolution had an internal contradiction. It was led mostly by men, and women were expected to play secondary roles. Iris Morales was not content with simply supporting the movement. She was determined to reshape it. She and other women in the Young Lords challenged the sexism that existed within their own ranks, demanding that women be recognized as leaders, thinkers, and fighters in their own right. She co-authored the Young Lords' position paper on women, which explicitly called out machismo, and declared that the struggle for Puerto Rican freedom had to include the liberation of women from oppression, abuse, and traditional gender roles. She did not ask for permission. She took her place as a leader. She rose to become the first female deputy minister of education for the Young Lords, helping to organize free breakfast programs, community health initiatives, and political education classes that transformed poor communities into hubs of revolutionary thought. In her own words, women were in the movement from day one. We had to struggle for our right to be respected, but we were there, leading, organizing, and fighting alongside the men. The FBI's COINTELPRO program, which had already targeted leaders like Malcolm X, the Black Panther Party, and the American Indian Movement, turned its sights on the Young Lords. Morales and her comrades were constantly under surveillance, harassed, and even arrested for their activism. But the repression only strengthened her resolve. Even as the Young Lords faced internal struggles and external attacks, Morales never abandoned the fight. When the organization eventually dissolved in the mid-1970s, she continued the work, becoming a filmmaker, educator, and activist dedicated to documenting the struggles of Puerto Ricans, Latinos, and women of color. Today, Iris Morales remains a powerful voice for justice, speaking out on issues of colonialism, racism, and feminism. Her book, Through the Eyes of Rebel Women, The Young Lords, 1969 to 1976, is one of the most important accounts of women's role in revolutionary movements, ensuring that the contributions of female freedom fighters are never erased from history. Iris Morales defied expectations, challenged the patriarchy, and demanded justice, not just for Puerto Ricans, but for all people struggling under systems of oppression. What do you think? Should modern social movements learn from the lessons of the Young Lords? Let us know in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe to Every Bori for more stories about Puerto Rican revolutionaries, activists, and leaders who shaped history.